Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Two for Talking podcast. I am your host, Corey Tusick. I've got comedian extraordinaire Joe Bartnick alongside with Josh Yohe from The Athletic. Gentlemen, the Penguins over the weekend, we got some Steelers stuff to talk about because we're fresh off Sunday nights. We'll talk about that in the third segment. But the Penguins this weekend, I'll tell you what, that it was I took my kids on Friday and I apologized halfway through the game. I said, I'm sorry that I brought you guys, but at least you got a Mario bobblehead. A pretty brutal weekend for the boys in black and gold on ice, Josh. And I think Winnipeg today was not the exclamation point we were looking for.
Yeah, I thought Carolina really exposed all of their flaws very well on Friday. And like Joe will tell you, you don't want to play Carolina in April, but you want to play them in October, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. I screwed that up. You know what I meant. They were bad on Friday. They were bad today. Guys, this team is so horrible defensively. I've been pretty hard on Tristan Jarry this week, and I don't take it back anything I said, and we'll get into him. But if they're going to play like this, it really doesn't matter who the goaltender was. And Ned after the game was like, yeah, played pretty well, felt pretty sharp. And all the players agreed. Sully said, yeah, Ned was really solid. And he was. Like, it should have been 3-0 after the first period. He was fine. They're giving up tap-ins. Their blue line is atrocious. It's embarrassing to watch them play defense right now. And guys, this road trip, it's not going to get any easier, okay? You got Calgary, who's I don't think they've lost a game in regulation yet. Then you got Edmonton and Vancouver back-to-back. They better be careful. And this trip could get ugly in a hurry, especially after blowing a game like they did today.
No, just the good vibes of the Steeler game can make us kind of forget about the Penguins debacle. But I'll say this, it was so enjoyable to watch a professional quarterback for the first time in 4 years. Now, Josh and Corey, I just want to watch a professional defenseman because I can throw them all under the bus.
Yeah.
Letang and Carlson have sucked. Okay. Graves is probably the 10th best defenseman in the organization. He shouldn't even be in Wilkes-Barre. He should be in Wheeling, West Virginia, probably bagging groceries. There's no way that Aho could play any worse. There's no way that any of the guys could play any worse. And I'll tell you what, you might as well just trade Pedersen now because he just looks worse and worse by the day. If you told me that Grizzly was going to be their best defenseman, I would have jumped off the bridge in September. But that's exactly what he is. And he's only played like C+ because the bar is low for him.
Yeah.
They are terrible. But if you watched 40% of that Winnipeg game was great. They played great for 40% of it, and I'll tell you why. Because this is infinitely a better team than they had last year. I will give Kyle Dubas credit that they actually have 4 lines now. And they have depth. They have scoring on 4 lines. They have size at the bottom 6. And they look like a pretty good hockey team if they had 3 more defensemen.
Yeah. Oh, that's the big issue, Joe. There's no question. I look at their forwards right now. Listen, Sid's a little slow out of the gate as he is sometimes in October. He'll be fine. That line will be fine. We know how good Geno has been, but the third and fourth lines, Lars Eller, 2 more goals. He's got 4 on the season. He's playing great. Kevin Hayes has 3 goals. Everybody was so down on him. Listen, he's not a $7 million player. That contract obviously was ridiculous he received years ago, but you're paying him a little over 3. And I think he's a luxury as their 4th line center right now. I really do. I think he's been outstanding. I like him on the penalty kill. He gives you some offensive punch, clearly. The depth is better. The forwards absolutely are better. You're right. And I don't want to just pin this on 2 people, but Erik Karlsson and Chris Letang are making a combined, $17 or $18 million. It's like amateur stuff that we're seeing from them right now. And it's both of them. I'm not going to say one's been better or worse than the other. They are both just blowing assignments in the defensive zone every single game. Against Winnipeg today, it was Letang especially. I'll get into this more later, but he was really out to lunch on a couple of plays. And Mike Sullivan, after the game, he was specifically referencing Letang, I think. He said, we're trying to rush into the offense the offensive aspect of the game before we're taking care of our own zone. There was a play. It was Winnipeg's third goal at the end of the second period. Lars Eller's going for a loose puck. He didn't get the puck. He didn't get there. Letang just assumes he's going to win the race, and he takes off. And all of a sudden, he leaves the area in front of the net vacated. Winnipeg gets the puck, and 2 seconds later, it's a goal. Like, you know, you can't be doing this kind of stuff, especially in a tie hockey game when you just gave up 2 goals. And we're seeing it every night. So you're right, and I think it's having an impact on Pettersson. I think it's probably really hard for him to be playing with Karlsson right now the way he's playing, and Marcus hasn't looked himself. And I'll tell you who else I think is being impacted by what we're talking about is Jack St. Ivany, who I like. He's a healthy scratch today, and I think playing with Graves probably is having a detrimental effect on him. I don't want to blame Graves for everything, but St. Ivany hasn't been the same guy the last few games. And what I would like, and listen, Mike Sullivan made a lot of changes with the lineup, and I applaud him for that. If I'm Sully, though, even though I'm not blaming Graves for everything, you've made Shea a healthy scratch multiple times. You've made St. Ivany a healthy scratch multiple times. We know St. Ivany and Shea are good together. We saw it last season. Maybe it's time to sit Graves down and let those guys have a couple of games to see if they can rekindle some of that magic from last season. They were so good together. I think it's something I would certainly consider.
I agree 100%, Josh. The bottom line is they can't be any worse.
Right.
And the play that I believe it was Letang that got danced by Pionk.
Yeah.
I mean, he made Pionk look like Bobby Orr. It was an incredible display of ineptitude.
It was.
It really was. And whenever Graves, I think he knocked down Scheifele, but then Scheifele just got the puck and put it in.
I know.
It was like, what are you
That was
doing?
the second goal. I mean, he actually did a good job knocking him down. Then he just ignored him like he thought he was never going to get up or something. It's very bizarre. I don't know. I don't know what Ned must have been thinking at that point. Like, man, I'm coming back. My first game of the year. This is what it's going to be like. They give up so many great A's. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's all 5-on-5, Joe. Like, the penalty kill's been fine. It's all 5-on-5.
Ned played outstanding.
I know.
Really, we should have lost 11-3.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I mean, you know, I yes, he took a bad penalty that kind of turned momentum, but other than that, I mean, the forwards all played pretty good. You know, Winnipeg's undefeated. You know, I thought we played pretty good I thought up front we played pretty good. You know, we can't find anybody worse. You know, I mean, we just have to make a couple trades because I watch a lot of hockey, Josh. You work a lot. I watch a lot of everybody. There is no worse defenseman than Ryan Graves. Like, anybody's number 6 defenseman can come in and play better than him. They have to make a trade. And if Sully's finally taken out his nuts and really moving the lineup around and benching Bunning and, you know, basically telling Jari to F off, we'll talk about that in a little bit. He's got to just sit Graves. He has to.
I think it's coming. I think he wanted to give him a chance. He probably didn't want to make him a healthy scratch to start the season. Just, I assume protecting his confidence level a little bit or whatever. I don't know. And it's not always as simple as got to bench that guy. He sucks. Like, you have to put yourself in coach's shoes and realize, they're dealing with egos. They're dealing with human elements, and that's fine. But he's hurting them. He hurts them almost every game. That's just the way it is. So obviously that's something to consider. And, I watch a lot of games around the league. I see a lot of other teams play. I know the Penguins have, in Karlsson and Letang, 2 guys who can be brilliant in the offensive zone, and that can't be ignored. But I don't know that there's a defensive group, a defensive core in the National Hockey League that is as bad in its own zone as the Penguins. That they don't really do anything well in their own territory. And it's 7 games. It's not that small of a sample size. It's every single night. Just the blown coverages more than anything. Like, it's very, like, hockey X's and O's can get a little confusing at times. But these are like very simple blunders they're making. It's clear who the man is, and they're just not taking the man. And Letang was just slow getting to the net today, and Lowry just walked right past him. Like, very basic, fundamental stuff. David Quinn has his work cut out for him working with this blue line. It's very clear.
but as a whole unit, they don't get the puck out. If
No.
Geno and Sid and Eller and a couple other guys have not had the great season and awareness that they've had so far, we wouldn't have won a game. Like Geno is always helping out now. Sid's always helped out. O'Connor's helping out. Eller. It's literally like the forwards are the only ones that get the puck out. If it's just a defenseman that just goes around and around and around, and then it's hemmed in. Other than Grizzly, who I say has played okay.
He's been fine, yeah. Yeah, Joe, it's all these self-inflicted wounds. I didn't think the Jets did anything special today. Like they're a nice team. Okay, they're off to a good start. But I didn't watch that game. I'm sitting in the press box in Winnipeg today thinking, man, the Jets are just this dominant force that the Penguins, nothing they can do. No, it's like the Penguins were just turning the puck over recklessly. They were making terrible decisions, blowing assignments left and right. It's one thing after another. I can't blame Ned for any of those goals, to be honest with you. It was a defensive meltdown, and it was really much of what we saw against Carolina as well. I thought Yoel played pretty well against Carolina. He wasn't great, but he was okay. They just dominated the Penguins on Friday night. I mean, that wasn't even a game.
No, I mean that was just boring Rod Brindamore hockey.
Right.
but today, like the Winnipeg Jets, they Scheifele's good. Colin O'Connor didn't even make him pay really. He missed some nets and some looks, but it's like our forwards played good enough to win. If we had Anaheim's defense, we would have won that game. Just Radek Gudas and Old Man Dumoulin and a couple young Russian kids, we win that game. Cam Fowler would be Ray Bork on the Penguins. I'm serious, Josh. We don't. I mean, people out here have been ripping on the Kings' defense, and we pining for Drew Doughty. Everyone on the Kings' defense plays better defense than the Penguins' defense. Every single one of them. We can't get the puck out. We turn around, we skate backwards, we flip around, and it's like then there's a forecheck on us. We don't make the simple play. We don't even hit it off the glass and up.
And what's interesting, I know in situations like this, when you see a team-wide defensive problem, and it's clearly there, the inclination is to point the finger at the head coach and the coaching staff. And it's fair to question what's going on because this is really for years now. The Penguins don't look like a well-coached team on the surface. They really don't. But we also know this is a head coach with multiple Stanley Cup rings. So it's not like he doesn't know how to coach proper defense and to preach the appropriate things. So I don't know that it's that simple to just point the finger at the coaching staff. I think we have a lot of things going on. That's the scary thing, Joe. I don't think it's just one thing. I think Erik Karlsson is just borderline uncoachable and just plays the game the way he thinks he should play it. And oftentimes there's no attention to detail there. I think Chris Letang's lost a step, and I don't think he knows how to, balance that out and how to make up for that. That's what I see. Marcus Pettersson's just struggling a little bit. You don't really worry about him. But Grizzly, he's okay. He's kind of a limited guy, though. He is what he is. And Ryan Graves goes without saying. So you got all these different pieces. I don't know how much Ryan Graves' struggles has to do with coaching. I know Karlsson's have nothing to do with coaching because I don't think anybody can get through to him. So, there's a lot of problems right now on that blue line.
Letang doesn't seem like he lost a step when he's on the power play, though. I think he's still. The funny thing is, always used to be blamed on Geno and Letang. Well, now it just seems to be just blamed on Letang. I mean, it literally from what I see. But remember when Sully first came in here? Now I know they had Hagelin, and they had Sheary, and they had young Rusty. But remember, it was like, okay, well, we know you guys can't play defense, so just throw it up the ice and clear it, or bang it hard off the glass. They don't even do that. No, that's what kills me. Just bang it off the glass. Live to fight another day. They turn around and try to get cute. Then they get hemmed in. It's really terrible because I think this team, forward wise, really is a borderline playoff team. But they got to make some trades. I mean, they need to get some people in or bring up Aho and let some of the kids play.
Well, it's still a small sample size, but it's very clear what their flaws are. Put it this way. I'm outside of the locker room today, right after the game ended, before they let us in the locker room. There's this old guy that works in Winnipeg outside the locker room. He looks at me. He goes, very Canadian. He says, "Your forwards are still pretty good, eh? That blue line sure isn't, though." I'm like, "Yes, sir. You got that one right." No, I mean, and it's an interesting situation Kyle Dubas is in, because he doesn't want to trade any draft picks or prospects to make this team better right now. He's made that pretty clear. He's committed to, getting assets for the future, which I understand. But boy, it's going to be a really frustrating season if we continue to see them play like this. This is really concerning. And guys, I guess we should shift the attention to the elephant in the room the last few days. We're talking about team defense and goal prevention. Tristan Jarry, I can't blame him for all of the goals against, for all of their problems. And I know it's not easy being the goaltender for this team. That's very evident. But he just looks like a completely lost goaltender to me. And the fact that Mike Sullivan wouldn't even name a starting goalie 2 hours before the game today, which he always does. And we knew then what that meant. That meant Jarry wasn't even going to dress. And I don't think he wanted to embarrass him by talking about it before the game. I don't know what the Penguins do moving forward, but I wouldn't have him in net right now. I actually thought Ned looked good. Bloomquist has been good. Those are your two best goaltenders right now.
This is the semi-genius thing I thought of, Josh. I'm going to run it by the smartest Penguin guy I know, which is you.
Oh, thanks.
If you're getting now, does this pave the way? If you already sat him in the press box, pave the way, he goes to Wilkes-Barre. But really, what it does is it paves the way to trade him to a team that needs a goaltender that may just have a $5 million problem on their blue line that can't be as bad as some of our problems on our blue line. A guy that could step in and play defense for us.
Do you have a team in mind?
There's some guys on the Blues that have big contracts that aren't living up to their nature. There's a lot of, even like in Edmonton, there's guys that making decent money, even like $3 or $4 million that they might not want to have around, that this might need Jar. Look at Edmonton on Detroit. They could maybe take a flyer. If we can take somebody's problem, maybe Jarry is a little bit more palatable to take if you really need goaltending help. And someone's problem can't be as bad as our problems right now. You know what I mean?
No, I do. And I'm really interested to see how the goaltending situation works out for the rest of this trip. I don't think we're going to see Jarry against Calgary. I certainly wouldn't play him against Edmonton or Vancouver, quite frankly. I don't know when we see him again. I don't know what the plan is. I don't think the Penguins know what the plan is. I really think they're just kind of going day by day and trying to figure things out. But Mike Sullivan has made one thing very clear. He is not messing around in October. He's taking every game seriously. We've seen it with these lineup changes already, and I wouldn't be shocked if Graves is the next guy to come out. So if he can get a hot goaltender, I think he will ride him. I absolutely believe that. And Jarry, I don't know that anybody would take him in a trade right now. It's not like there are other bad contracts in the NHL. Maybe Jarry for Elvis straight up in Columbus. I don't know. There's in Colorado. If you're the Penguins, don't you have to be calling the Avs just to make sure?
Well, the problem with Colorado is they're not gonna give us Manson, and they don't have any other defensemen that would fit that bill. That I'm scouring my head right. I should have.
Or that they'd be willing to trade. Sam Girard makes $5 million, but he's a pretty good player.
But is Girard is he's better than even Letang at this point. Although not to Ivan Barbashev.
Yeah, why would Colorado do that?
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. And Colorado has. Listen, Georgiev is a massive problem for them. There's no question. But the tricky thing for Colorado too, is Landeskog going to try to play, I guess, but they don't really know if he's going to be able to. He makes a ton of money. And of course, you have other problems in Colorado with certain off the ice issues and players that we have discussed on this program. So they don't know where all their money is going to be allotted to right now. So I think it's hard for them to make a significant trade, even though their goaltending is such a massive problem. They have won 2 in a row now, so maybe that will settle things down a little bit in Denver. But if I'm Kyle Dubas and Mike Sullivan, I am not afraid to put Tristan Jarry on waivers and to say, no, I don't think anyone would claim him. If they do, frankly, great. If nobody does, send him to Wilkes-Barre. I don't care if that hurts his pride or his ego or not. He's still making $5 million plus a year. He'll be all right. That wasn't NHL level goaltending that we have seen from him this season at all.
No. And I just looked through my notes. I still haven't come up with a good play because basically no one's goaltending is as shaky as Colorado's right now. A few places have righted the ship.
No, that's right. So it's and listen, like I said, I don't care what goaltender you're talking about. You're not going to put up great numbers playing behind this team. That's very clear. But Jarry, giving up the goals that he has, especially Buffalo, that turning the puck over, giving up a goal, and then looking lazy, getting back into the net, and Thompson scored. That left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm sorry. I know Tristan's a laid-back person by nature. I get it. But you got to show a little bit of urgency there, a little bit of conviction, and I just didn't see any of it. I don't know how you can play him right now, Joe, and maybe they won't. I don't know. I have no idea who's going to play the rest of this trip. Nobody knows.
I don't think they are going to play him. I think if he was still in the mix, Josh, I mean, maybe Sully read your impeccable article, which I thought was one of your best, which is you always have great stuff, but it was one of your best. It was tough, but it was fair. I think if he cared about Tristan's feelings, he'd have been the backup today. I think he's through with him.
He might be.
I don't know. You're certainly around more than me, but it seems like that's a big step to do.
Well, and it told us something when he didn't play him in Toronto. That was like the first clue, like, oh man, that was something that got everyone's attention. And I thought he played okay in Montreal. It wasn't great, but he was okay. Gave up the first goal, which was terrible. After that, he was fine. They get the win, but then okay, you show a little bit of confidence in him. You throw him back in there against Buffalo, and gives up 3 goals on 5 or 6 shots, whatever it was. Just unacceptable.
Well, look at what Ned did today. If Jarry was in net, it'd have been 7-0.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, Ned had 4 or 5 grade A chances in the first 10 minutes.
They were out shooting the Penguins. I think it was 11-3 with about 8 minutes left in the first period. And 5 or 6 of those were really, really good looks.
But
go ahead, Joe.
No, that being said, though, like I said, 40% of this game, we took a team. I think they're overrated, but some people have them as a playoff lock, and they're undefeated. And for 40% of that game, we forechecked them to death, and we won every puck battle. So that's what's screwy about this team. It's like if we just had a couple stay-home defensemen that could hit a puck off the glass and start a breakout. We might win a few more games.
No, you're right. Like I said, the Jets didn't do anything special today, and the Penguins. Tell you the best hockey the Penguins have played all season was in about the first 12 minutes of the second period. Winnipeg never touched the puck. The Penguins were great in that period. They really were. To be that good in a period and then to be down 3-2 at the end of that period, to give up 3 late goals when they were playing the way they were playing, it was just bizarre. Honestly, the Jets looked like they had nothing. Ned was sharp. Everything was rolling, all 4 lines. And then they just fell apart. And like I said, one of the most damning things to me, like I guess this isn't a bad thing, but the special teams have been pretty good for the Penguins. It's just the 5-on-5 defensive play, which theoretically isn't supposed to be that hard. They're making it really hard on themselves. It's just, kind of painful to watch them right now. And given some of the firepower that they're about to face, I actually was talking with the captain after the game. I said, Sid, if you guys play like this, the rest of this road trip, things could get ugly. And he said, well, we're not really looking that far ahead. But then about 2 seconds later, he said, yeah, we really better start playing better defensively. and he made it clear, he said, don't blame the goalies. And he actually took a responsibility for the game-winning goal scored by Adam Lauer. He said, I lost the face-off. He was my guy, and he got past me. It's not, I can't do that. And he's right. So when even he's making some mistakes in the defensive zone, it's just a full-blown team-wide issue right now.
Well, we know Sid's going to bounce back because I think the beginning of last year I was a little worried. Is this when it get caught up to him? And it didn't. So I'm not going to worry about Sid. But Sid has not been Sid.
No.
Rusty hasn't looked the same since he got dinged up. You know, I said he looks a bit off.
He got banged up again today. He missed a shift
Yeah.
at the end of the first period too. So
I was really worried at that juncture. But let's talk about what Sullivan did with the forwards. For those who were maybe pre-gaming the Steeler game a little early and missed out on the matinee and the peg, O'Connor got moved up to Sir Sidney's line with Rusty. Yessie Pugliarvi, he took a bad penalty, but he always seems to get his hand in the cookie jar. But I really like that guy for some reason.
Yeah, me too.
He makes things happen. He played with Geno and Raquel. Bunting ate the popcorn. Kind of shocking tonight. Glass moves up to the third line to play in the third line with Lars and Anthony Beauvillier, and Pusty got into the lineup and he played. He played with Mr. Purple Haze and Nolachari. Pretty close to my dream lineup. I think it may come now. I think I would like to see Pusty. I know why you break up the fourth line. I guess he's still living off Tony Bo's still living off his lucky 2 goals, but it seems to me that Pusty plays the third line with Eller and Bunting, and the big boys still play the fourth line, and Tony Bo gets to try the nuts in Calgary.
Yeah,
That's what I would do.
You know, Beauvillier, I think he's a fine number 13 forward. And I don't mean that as an insult. I just think that's what he is, and I'm surprised he's still in the lineup. I think he'll probably come out at some point. I think we can agree Drew O'Connor needs to stay on the top line. Like that line, you're right. Sid and Rusty haven't looked themselves. They could use a little bit of a injection, I think, of help on the left side. O'Connor has, quite frankly, other than Geno, probably been their best player. Like I think he's really good. I mean, you watch him play every night, man. He's big, he's fast, he's a good penalty killer. He's going to score 20+ goals. A good player. So I think he needs to stay on that top line. I think that makes sense. As for Michael Bunting, I'm a little surprised he was a scratch. That was quite a message sent from Sullivan. I understand he hasn't had a great start to the season. I don't know that he's been so bad that I would have removed him from the lineup. I think maybe they felt like he needed a little kick in the ass, and that's what this was. They need him to be better, but that's what I mean. Like, would Sullivan have benched Bunting last year if he had a couple of off games? I don't think so. This is kind of a new Mike Sullivan who's letting people know if you're not going to play well, I don't care who you are, you're not going to get the same ice time. And we'll see. But I like a lot of the options at forward. I thought Cody Glass was pretty good today. These guys in the bottom six, Achari, who I didn't think was very good last season. He's been a different player this year. I like him at wing a lot more. At wing, he's more free just to go hit people, which is what he does so well. Really good penalty killer. He's doing more than enough to stay in the lineup. So and Pusty had some jump today. I want to see a little more of him too. So they've got some options at forward, no question.
And I think Pusty would serve well playing with Eller because I think he has a little more upside offensively. You know, he's not going to grind as much with Achari and Glass and Hayes because Achari looks like Boston Achari. He was pretty good when he played in Boston. He was pretty good in Florida. I've always been kind of pro Achari until he played for the Penguins. I'm like, what happened? Yeah, that's what I would do. I like Pusty with a little more chance to maybe come down with Eller on a 2-on-1 or maybe a 3-on-2 and letting it fly. I think the reason why Bunting maybe got sent to the pine was I think Bunting has played the worst, not bad, but I think compared to what he could be. I think everyone else has played pretty good. Like I said, our forwards have been pretty good this year. Sid, has Sid been Jesus? Not quite, but he's still Sid, and he hasn't played bad. Rusty's a little dinged. Other than that, I really can't say that forwards have played that bad. I mean,
been really good.
I mean, they lost to the Rangers, they lost to Toronto, and they lost to Carolina. They're playing like they did a couple years ago when they lost all the good teams and they beat all the bad teams.
Oh, that's
it's like
that's exactly what it has been. Listen, it's a very simple concept. The forwards have been pretty good. Bunting will be back in the lineup, I would think, against the Flames. If you're not going to get more out of Carlson and Letang, I don't mean to make it about two people, but they are so crucial to the Penguins, okay? They're the guys eating all the minutes on the blue line. They're the guys making all the money. They're the guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. If they are going to keep continuing to make so many miscues, this team's going absolutely nowhere. So, yeah, there are other issues beside those two and other lineup decisions that have to be made. But every time I'm watching this team play, it's like, what are these two doing? Like, it's like they've never played before. And I know we've seen Letang at times over the years. He'll go through these little rough patches, right, where he just looks completely out of whack. And we know Carlson does not have 3 Norris trophies because of his defensive acumen. I understand that. But this is not acceptable, what we're seeing from these two guys.
No, it's not. And this could be more summer programming. But I'm not 100. I wouldn't bet my house that Chris Letang is going to the Hall of Fame. But that might just be
You
me.
might be right.
I'm not trying to,
I wouldn't bet my house either on that. I think he will, but it's not a given.
No, it's a topic for it's definitely a topic for some programming. But here's the funny thing about Letang and Carlson. They look pretty good on the power play. Isn't it funny?
I know.
That's the least of our worries right now. The power plays actually looked okay.
She said that in the press box today. I was talking with Matt Fensel and Dan Kongursky in the press box. I said, guys, I got to be honest. I think the power play is like the least concerning thing about this team right now. When the hell did that happen? That I don't know what that means. I don't think that speaks very highly of the rest of the performance we've seen from the team, but the power play actually looks pretty good. So encouraging signs there, but it's not been a boring 7 games so far. Well, except for the Carolina game, which is always boring. But you can't, like Sid told me after the game today, if we're gonna give up 5 or 6 goals a game, that's not going to be good. Like, stating the obvious, Captain, but you are correct.
I want to touch on one more thing that happened this week, because since we last talked, we've gone 2-2, and we beat the Canadians, and we beat Buffalo, and we lost like we did on the weekend. But on Wednesday night was an absolute love fest. It was incredible. It's why I wanted Geno to still be here. You want someone to score their 500th goal as a Penguin. It was magnificent. Sid scores the overtime winner. That's why they're here. They're not here to beat Carolina in a shootout and bore us to death, or they're here for those moments. And fellas, I loved every second of it. And you know what? And I'm sorry, I may just finish this point. Hey, you know what? I don't care if we don't make the playoffs by 5 points and we make them and lose in the first round with Trocheck. I'd rather have that moment with Geno.
It was a classic Pittsburgh Penguins game, wasn't it? Everything about it. They weren't playing defense. Their goalie gets yanked. They win 6-5 anyway. You knew Sid was going to end it in overtime. You could just feel it. You knew Geno was going to get number 500, and he did it with such style. That was such a gorgeous goal from his backside to get number 500. No, that was – you're right. I think for a lot of fans – I always hear people say, screw this damn nostalgia act. We want championships. And I get it. Any fan base should want championships. But there's no other franchise that can produce a nostalgia act quite like this.
Yeah,
there is something to be said for that.
It's never coming back. Like, we have to enjoy it. If he got his 500 goal playing third line center with Florida, in Trocheck and we lose 4-2, it's like, come on. I'd rather see Geno.
These are Hall of Fame players playing 20 years together. We're never going to see this again for the rest of our lives. It is a big deal. Maybe it's not the Stanley Cup. I get it. But for October hockey, it was pretty damn fun.
It made huge news in Canada, and it made PTI. Like, it made the front page of ESPN. It's big news.
That's right.
He's ours. They're our guys. So it makes it special. All right. That was my little rant.
I like it.
All right. Well, yeah, it was, not the greatest weekend for the Penguins, but yeah, Wednesday night was fantastic. And if we ever do a post game, like you said, Joe, the other day, that would have been the first one. That would have been the perfect game to do it, because we were all in the Penguin feels. But when we come back in the second segment of Two for Talking, we're gonna do the 3 up, 3 down across the NHL. And before we do that, we got to talk about the Reg Dunlap of insurance. That would be Mr. Bill Neofis, who I'm sure was up watching the Steeler game, trying to make himself feel a little bit better after that Jets game. No, both Jets games, but the Winnipeg Jets game.
Yeah, the city of Pittsburgh went 1-1 against the Jets this weekend, and indeed he was our great sponsor, who I just spoke with a few moments ago. As a matter of fact, he's feeling good. He was just in Vegas last week supporting the Steelers. We don't like to focus on this too much because this is a professional show and he's a professional man, but that guy likes Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm just going to leave it at that. But he also likes providing good insurance to the good people of Western Pennsylvania. That's what we call a segue in the business. And I want to remind everyone, October Cyber Security Awareness Month. We've been talking about it all month, and it actually amazes me. The average identity theft takes 100 man-hours to untangle. And even if you had an extra 100 hours in your schedule, how would you go about resolving it? It's absolutely right. Well, if you have a nationwide homeowner insurance policy through the Neofis Insurance Group, you can add identity theft coverage for less than $4 a month. That's like a gallon of gas. And that covers everyone in the household. If you're a victim of ID theft, you simply make one call to Nationwide and you are completely taken care of. It's $45 a year. So give our friends at Neofis Insurance a call, 412-364-3388. Bill and his crew are absolutely the best. I guarantee it.
And don't sleep on that, because then you'll get your identity stolen and feel shame.
That's right. You sit in the box, that's right. Yeah, so who owns the
Joe should have that. He should have a penalty box in his office where if you don't call him in time to fix something, he could put you in there and feel shame.
That's a great idea. I like that.
Well, yeah, so on the second segment here, we're going to talk NHL 3 up, 3 down, and hopefully my microphone works the whole time. But we'll start here with what you guys both have in common. So on the uppers, we got that could be the drugs version of it.
Wow.
The uppers
well, we're doing the show late tonight, so
so on the up, we got you both have Florida. The Florida Panthers. The Cats look good. Reigning Stanley Cup champs, and they don't look too exhausted.
No, I think they're 4-2-1 now. They're in first place in their division already. It's not easy when you're the defending champ, Joe. Everyone's out to get you, and they've won the East 2 years in a row. Trying to get back to the final a third year, it's really tough. I was down there last month talking with Patrick Hornquist. I said, "Did you give these guys any advice on you won back-to-back championships?" He said, "Yeah, I did." I said, "What was that?" He said, "I told them you better be really good in October, because at some point you're going to hit a lull during the regular season, and you don't want to have to claw your way into the playoffs in April. Like you need to give yourself some padding, and then eventually maybe you'll get your second wind in the springtime." So they need to get off to a good start. They're just good. They're the most complete team in hockey. Everything about their game I love. So yeah, nice start for them.
Very astute from Horny. Good stuff. Let's face it, they lost Barkov. Not lost him, but he's injured. They lost Kachuk. They've handled Boston twice. They went into Columbus on a horrible evening to try to play hockey, and they won. They're doing it. Lindell looks like the guy, what a great backup, that number 2, number 3 center. He's playing fantastic. Bobo's still hot. Florida's just, they haven't hit the wall yet, and they've gone to the finals twice. So they had to be on my upper for me.
Yeah. Yep. Now, first Dan for both of you guys. Dan Tan, we got the Nashville Predators.
Whoa.
What's that?
0-5, is it? Or are they 0-5 now?
Do they have any points?
No, they don't even have a loser point. I think they're 0-5 now, right?
Geez.
Yeah. It was funny because I thought they could maybe beat Detroit because Detroit's been on a downer.
Yeah.
But then Detroit smoked them. So I was gonna have Detroit and have this big take on how Detroit doesn't have any dynamic centers after Larkin and try to sound smart, but then Copp goes out and scores 2 goals. I'm still gonna get on Comfer for my puck off show. But I think, speaking of dynamic centers, that's what Nashville needs. Ryan O'Reilly, for as good as he is, he's not dynamic. They're trying to fit Novak in there. They need someone that can get the puck through center ice to get the puck to Forsberg and Nyquist and Marchessault and Stamkos. So until they get that, you can have all the goaltending you have. You can have Yossi, but if you can't carry the puck through, you can't, as the great one says, can't carry the mail.
Well, what's interesting about Nashville, they added all this talent this summer of Stamkos and Marchessault. So that's great. Great players. but I feel like they've gotten away from their identity. They're giving up a lot of goals. And when I think of Nashville, I always think of a really good defensive team and the good goaltending with Saros. And they're losing a lot of high-scoring games right now. I don't know. I think it's a transition for them when you become more of an offensive-minded team. That can be a tough thing, but you don't want to forget about who you are. And some franchises, the Penguins, it's just in their DNA to win games with offense. They don't really know how to play any other way. Nashville, I think, is kind of their DNA to play defense and to shut you down. That's what they've always done well. So I really like their team before the season. I can't believe the start they've had. Really shocking to me.
Yep. And my old the drinking game. Every time Bartnick says this, you can't win the Stanley Cup in October, but you can lose it. You don't get that far behind in this division. I mean, 0-5 is a whole.
Oh yeah. No, it absolutely is.
I mean, I remember Sid's rookie year whenever they started off with 9-1 or whatever. But when it got to 5 games, you're like, oh my god, this is pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, is there a Ziggy Palfy on this team? Is Stamkos just going to quit?
He can go retire real quick. We can get Eric Boganecki to come in as the trade deadline jolt. On the upswing, Josh, you have the Calgary Flames, who you'll be seeing shortly. So
4-0-1
for the Penguins.
I think they're 4-0-1, and I have no clue how they're doing it. On paper, they're not impressive. They've had a really hard time getting people to stay in Calgary in recent seasons. But I'll tell you, I watched their game. I think it was in Vancouver last week. I was pretty impressed with them. You could see the skill level was maybe a little higher than I was expecting. And all of a sudden, it's a desperate Penguins team that's going into the Saddle Dome Tuesday night, and they're going to get a very rested and a very motivated team. I'm sure anytime Crosby's in the arena, you're fired up, and the Flames are 4-0-1. They want to keep this hot start going, Joe.
Yeah, Calgary's almost like a classic expansion team. They kind of have every line's like a really good second and a half, like a really good third line, and
they play really hard.
Yeah, and a decent second line. Yeah. And they get the guy, Kuzmenko can score. I like that guy. But they get their Colemans and their Kadris and Lombergs and the Pospisil guy I like. And Zari's a good young kid. And, and they got just enough guys to play that rough style that can get in there, get in your face, get those dirty goals. But I'll tell you, the guy that Baysby, the Anderson, their defenseman, he danced Jesus the other night. Like, where was this?
Yeah, he did.
And I'll tell you, a guy, we have goal. I mean, besides Jari, we have good goaltending. I like that Vladar kid. I know they gave Wolf all that money, but Vladar is a really good backup goaltender. Mm-hmm. And whenever they were screwing around in Boston a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, I wonder if they still wish they had Vladar sitting on the bench.
Now, mind you, I don't really think Calgary's that good. I'm sure they're going to hit a wall here at some point. Maybe the Penguins are getting them at the wrong time. But expectations are low. You're 4-0-1. You are what your record says you are, and they've really started the season quite nicely.
I would rather them be full of themselves and reading the press clippings than be desperate, though.
That's fair.
That's true. That's true. Next up on the uppers for Joe would be the New York Rangers. They have won 3 straight. And I mean, they have a +14 goal differential, aided by Tristan Jarry, but they look every bit the real deal, don't they, Joe?
Yeah, I really don't like Igor Shesterkin, but I got to hand it to him. He's a hell of a goaltender. You got Kreider waking up now. Breadman, I know he is Mr. October in New York, but he's playing amazing. And Lafreniere looks better and better and better every game. And I know their bottom pairing isn't where it needs to be right now because what's his name, Lindgren is out, so they're kind of mixing and matching. But their top 4 on D, I know Truba's Truba, but at least their top 3 is excellent on defense. And they got the Coyley guy. You talk about 1 through 12, they're a wagon. And when you don't have to play Remke, because Carrick can also fight. I've yearned for Sammy Carrick for years from the Duckies, and now the Rangers got him. They're a very, very, very good team. It pains me to say it, but they're an excellent hockey team.
Yeah, I know nobody in Pittsburgh wants to hear it, and I know it's only October, so let's not rush to conclusions. But they kind of have that look about them right now, like they're a dominant team. They are. We saw it on opening night, but they've pretty much done it to everyone else. I think they lost at home to Utah. That was their one setback, but they are just a high-flying offensive machine, juggernaut, whatever you want to call them. And you're right, Joe. It still goes back to Igor, too. They can play that way and trade chances with teams because he's so good. When you've got a top 3 goalie in the league, which I believe he is, that just gives you a different kind of confidence. It changes the way you play. They are a living, breathing Stanley Cup contender. We saw what the Rangers in Florida in the Eastern Conference Final last season. I wouldn't be shocked if we see a rematch of that series. They're clearly one of the elite teams in the NHL right now.
They handled Toronto. They
Oh,
handled them, and that's not your GM's old Toronto team. That's Craig Berube's team.
Right.
They're playing different. I watch a lot of Toronto games because I like the great American hero Austin Matthews.
No. And going from down to the downer list, from positive 14 on the goal differential, we go to negative 14. That would be the San Jose Sharks on Josh's list. They're playing so bad on defense. I think Mario might come out of retirement whenever the Penguins go to San Jose.
66 never missed a game against the Sharkies, that's for sure. Now, listen, I know we have no expectations for the Sharks. They stink on paper. They're probably the worst team in the league, but I don't believe they've won a game yet this season. And I don't want it to be ignored just how pathetic that franchise has become. And that was a franchise for a long time, even though they never won the cup. We're talking close to a 20-year period where they were always really good. Like that was a sustained run of excellence in a very non-hockey market. And now I look at that team. I mean, there's very little NHL talent on that roster. I don't want to say they're historically bad because I don't know that they could be any worse than they were last year. But, man, is that a bad team, Joe?
Well, Celebrini getting hurt day after game 1 did not help.
No.
He looked good the first game.
He did.
I mean, and they added a few more pieces. Greer added, he added to Foley. They're just not good. There's no other way to say it.
They're primed to give. Why can't the Penguins be hitting them up in the near future?
I'll tell you this though. I mean, the thing is, they have goaltending, but you would love to see CC and Jan Ruda out there right now.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And that's who the Sharks have. And believe me, they would be better than Graves and Pedersen right now.
Do you know who Jan Ruda's girlfriend is?
No.
She's David Volek's daughter. Swear to God.
Oh my God.
Penguins killer David Volek's daughter.
Shall not be named.
Yes.
Wow.
He has a statue outside.
A little tidbit there for you. Yes.
I can't believe they put him as
Stanley Cup winner Jan Ruda, who went down and did well. I knew he would. I knew he wasn't. I knew he wasn't as. We had to throw him out with the trash in that trade, but he was not that bad. He kind of got painted with a wide brush.
Yeah. Next on the downer would be on Joe's list, the Colorado Avalanche, which, hey, like we said, pinging any desperate team for NHL goaltender. But yeah, I mean, I saw them on ESPN Plus or whatever. I'm like, oh, let me see if they figured it out yet. And I promptly watched Georgiev just barf up a couple goals immediately. I was like, oh, this is really bad.
Cal McCarr, who's the closest thing to, I mean, the only guy that can stop Jesus and doesn't skating backwards. Cal McCarr to me is my favorite player to watch that isn't a Penguin. I love him. He said if he didn't play, they would have won. That's how bad he's played. They're hit by the injury bug. If they didn't get a Herculean effort from Big Mac, they would have lost to the Duckies. The Duckies owned them in Colorado 2 nights ago. I watched that whole game. It was nuts. They stink right now. I mean, I know they're missing guys, but they're missing way too many guys.
Yeah, something's off with them. I watch them a lot too. They're my favorite team in the league to watch. And you're right. They are absolutely banged up. But I'm a big believer. And I've had so many hockey players tell me this over the years. I was just talking with Borky the other day about it, and he very vehemently confirmed how true it is. If your goaltending is a mess, it just has an impact on your entire team. People start trying to do too much. You just have this belief that you're going to give up a goal on every shot against, and you start to pressure yourself to whatever. There's a lot of reasons for it, but how can Colorado have any faith in their goaltending at all right now? If you don't have that position, you've got nothing, and they know that. So I still think when healthy, you could make an argument, if we're just talking the 18 skaters, they might be the best team in the league when healthy, but their goaltending is so bad. It's a bad start for them. And, the West has those heavyweights that are so good. We know there's 5 or 6 teams in the West that are scary good. And so you look at Colorado and Edmonton right now, they better be careful. You don't want to fall 10 points behind at the end of the first month of the season.
Well, they're missing Taves, which is huge.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if they didn't have Makar, you'd be saying how great Taves is.
Yes.
Taves is an incredible hockey player. The other guy they're missing, everyone knows they're missing Landis guy. Everyone knows they're missing Nikushkin, who I love Nikushkin.
Mm-hmm.
Arturi Lehkonen is a great hockey player.
One of my favorite players in the league. Great
and
player.
Missing him, you don't hear about it all the time, but it is huge for that organization.
Right. It is. I think they'll be fine, but I worry with them about how much energy McKinnon and Makar are expending right now, just because of all the problems around them. You don't want them going full blast in October, but they might have to just to keep the things afloat right now.
Did you see the game on Friday night?
Yeah, Anaheim, Colorado. Yeah. I saw some of it. Yeah.
I want to get the guys. I want to get the goalie's name right. In overtime, Dostoy made a skate save on Mikko Rantanen.
Rantanen, yeah.
Maybe one of the 3 best saves. It will go down of the year.
Awesome.
It was I couldn't believe he stopped it. It was insane. You got to go back and watch the highlights if you haven't watched it. But yeah, the Duckies, they didn't make my list this week, but I'm always floating around the Duckies improving. His Trevor Zegras, he's out there killing penalties.
Yeah, how about that?
He's doing everything.
Love it.
And I love seeing that old logo. You guys know I'm a jersey snob. Even though they're wearing orange, I love that logo so much better than that stupid Ducks that they had. So we talked about them on Josh. Your third up is the Winnipeg Jets, 5-0 start. So I mean, again, they might not be the best team in the league, but they're pretty solid, and they took advantage of a porous defense from the Penguins.
I might tell you what they think of the Penguins, that they chose this game to give Hellebuck a night off. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they're probably a playoff team, especially with the start that they've had. And remember, their goaltender is so good, if they're average, he makes them a playoff team. He's just, and we're talking about Shesterkin. Hellebuck's like that too. He's one of the few guys in the league that is a real difference maker between the pipes. So I give them credit. The last couple of summers have been awful for them. They keep losing players. Nobody wants to play here. That's tough. They look like a pretty solid hockey team to me, though. I give them credit for the start that they've had.
I'm shocked. They really play as a team, and they came together as a team, because they always have drama going back to the Blake Wheeler days. Yes. And think about the 2 guys that literally said, "I don't want to be here." If they had a healthy line and they still had Big Buff, like those, Buff literally just said, "I'm done. I hate Wheeler that much."
Were they really chanting, "Where is Rutger"?
Yes, there was a "Where is Rutger" chant in the third period after the Jets took the lead. A pretty noisy one. Everybody in the building could very clearly hear what they were chanting. And then a Jaeger's better chant started a minute later. So it was, the Jets fans are always entertaining. I actually love their fans. It's one of the best atmospheres in the league. Years ago, when Jordan Stahl was in his second or third year in the league, they were chanting "Jordan's better" at Eric when Carolina was in Winnipeg. So they're always very creative.
Very knowledgeable.
Oh, yeah.
Next up on Joe's up list is the Dallas Stars. 5-1 start for the Stars. They look to be picking up right where they left off, don't they?
The big guys are not slumping at all. I mean, they all woke up hot. Like it wasn't like, Robertson's 0 for 5. Or, Wyatt Johnson's 0 for 5, or the old guys haven't won. Sagan scored, Ben scored, Johnson scored, Rupe's like a poor man's, not even to insult him, but he's like, to me, he reminds me of Malkin when he gallops through center ice with the puck. And, Miro is actually starting off a little slow, but they got the D. Ottinger's on his game, and oh my God, Casey DeSmith won a game. You talk about things going right for you.
That's how good Dallas is, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Hey, they're my Stanley Cup pick this year. I love that team. They really shut down Edmonton yesterday.
Yeah.
I caught some of that game. That was a really impressive. It was a fun game, actually. That was some big boy hockey for October, but that Dallas was the better team. To me, they're just the most complete team in the West. I think along with Florida, they're the most complete team in the league. I can't say anything bad about the Stars. They can beat you so many different ways. That really, really good team. That's a good call, Joe.
And they have the perfect bananas. They have some black bananas and they got some green bananas. They have every type of banana you need.
They look the part, don't they?
They can play it anyway, and it's why I picked them over Colorado because they're just deeper. I think the high end I'd take Colorado, but 1 through 12, 1 through 6, and in net you got to take the Stars, and it's gonna be fun. But I won't pick them every week, but I like the Stars.
Yeah. Joe, my final pick, by the way, which Corey's about to read, this was just for you, Joe. I just wanted
that's how
there's a team out there that's lost 4 in a row that
Let's just put it this way: if there's one team that could make Joe smile to see on the down list, it would be the Creamsicles, the Philadelphia Flyers. 4 losses in a row, doing exactly what the Lord's work, right? Doing the Lord's work for you.
Yeah. Yesterday, who was it? Yesterday did the Lord's work. I had it on my skate. Somebody
shot it, and the Canucks went into
Ricky T. Yeah, it was and Lankinen with the donut. Yeah. Well, they're terrible. I mean, they're just not a good team. But Tortorella's going to get them to play just enough not to get a lottery pick, which thank God for Tortorella. I mean, what more can you say? You look at that. I don't understand when they win, and what's great is Couturier took a bad. I hate Couturier. He took a bad penalty. I can't stand them. I'll never say anything good. A couple guys on that team throughout the years of the Simmons, the Hartnells, I'd give it the piggyback right to come play for us. Everybody else is a punk.
Hartnell's a great guy, by the way. I always like dealing with him, but
that's all I've ever heard. I love him. He can come play for us anytime.
He's awesome. But
they're just with the Hulkamania.
Oh yeah. But the Flyers they're just very limited, and we knew that going in. But I was thinking about my down list, and I thought, you know what, got to perk up Joe a little bit tonight. I think let's talk about the Flyers and their offensive struggles.
And let's to finish off Joe's down list. I found out something that Connor McDavid cannot do, and that would be give a good post-game speech to fire up his team, because I don't know if you saw that. It's just I was like, oh, we found something he's not good at when he was like, it's the finals, what are we doing, guys? Just was like, wow, that doesn't sound great. But he's also not apparently good at getting off to good starts. I don't know if they hate their coach every year and they just like, let's get a new guy. But you have him on your down list, and not so great so far up in Edmonton.
Well, they're not turning it around. I think I had them on my down list last week too. The same thing. They don't have team speed. I've said it. I forget. I forget the. It's McLeod. It's the kid Holloway, and another guy. They're missing 3 guys that killed penalties and 3 guys that forechecked. Corey Perry's not going to forecheck.
No.
Corey Perry's not going to get the puck. He's not going to beat people with the puck. And they have 3 AHL defensemen, and Skinner's not doing his job. I mean, if I was Joel Quenneville, I'd make sure I had my ringer up.
Yeah, I mean, they're not good right now. I'm fascinated to see how the Penguins do Friday night in Edmonton. They do not play well there.
They're going to get beat 7-1.
Jesus is always ready for the Penguins.
What's going to happen?
It's very much in play, but they don't look right. Edmonton, I think I just saw the other day, Edmonton's the oldest team in the league, which is really surprising to me. I don't know if that's necessarily a concern, but I think it's interesting. A lot of people, especially our friends in the Canadian media, just think it's a given that Edmonton's going to win the cup this year. Like, I do not. Listen, they're obviously they've got 2 extraordinary players. Beyond those 2, though, how good is Edmonton really? I don't think they're terrible, but are they really better on paper than Dallas or Colorado? When you look at their whole team, I'm not so sure about that. And not a good start. They need to go back to the 66 playbook and look at the numbers he used to put up in October. And usually the all-time great players do feast on teams this time of year when they're not quite locked into their defensive systems and such. But McDavid and Draisaitl do not look themselves right now. Now, I wonder if they still have June on their minds. They kind of strike me as a team that maybe hasn't gotten over what happened in June. They're still kind of reliving that nightmare a little bit. But I don't see a lot of focus when I watch them play right now.
Yeah, and I do think that's why I said at the time, I don't know if I said it on the show, but I was like, this might have been their shot because to get through the West again, I like that's not an easy task.
I think they get to bring. I think you bring up a few young kids, get some younger legs, and hold on and get Kane back. And I think they have some cap space. I could be wrong, but they're gonna be there. But they're just fatally flawed team.
Yeah.
I think so too.
They should. I mean, they shouldn't have. The Kings kind of have a bugaboo against them, but I don't know how they beat. What they think they beat Dallas, right? Like I don't know how they're not the best team in the West. I don't care what people in Canada say because I can't even hear anything from people in Canada because all I hear about is how great Ottawa is now. They won a couple games. I can't wait to say Ottawa on my down. I'm waiting for the week I can crap all over them.
No, it's coming. Don't worry.
As soon as they show any form of like they're going down, I can't stand that franchise.
Yeah. Well, that'll do it for the second segment for the 3 up, 3 down. On the third segment, we'll talk about the Sunday night football game. Steelers just pulled out a victory against the Jets. We'll get into that on the third segment of Two for Talking. Welcome back to the third segment of Two for Talking. And guys, Joe, I mean, you said it at the top. Hey, we had competent quarterback play. It's kind of fun to watch the Steelers whenever we have a good quarterback. What is ESPN going to do to fill the hours this week? Because they can't opine for Justin Fields and why he was the answer. The Steelers win 37 burger, 37-15, 31 unanswered points. More importantly, impressive win. And I saw Josh, he tweeted it. I have to hats off to Mike Tomlin too. I mean, because I've been very critical of him for many reasons, but he made the right call and put his balls on the line whenever he needed to.
And Joe, I want to hear what you have to say about the quarterback situation. But first, let me say this. Just living in Pittsburgh, Corey and I probably have a better sense for this. The whole city has been whining like babies all week. Justin Fields, Justin Fields, Justin Fields. And I'm not here to knock Fields. He's been fine. He's a work in progress. He has his limitations. He's okay. But the Steelers brought Russell Wilson in to be their quarterback. And Mike Tomlin surely heard what everyone was saying all week, and he said, all right, I'm going to start Russell Wilson anyway. And everybody in the national media ripping the shit out of him for it because the national media hates Russell Wilson and loves Justin Fields. I don't know why, but that's just the way it is. But Tomlin, I give him credit. He showed conviction. I'm the coach. That's my quarterback. And Russ had a slow start tonight. And from about midway through the second quarter on, I thought he was outstanding. It's the best the offense has looked in a really long time. And I'm guessing you agree with me.
I 1,000% agree with me. First thing I do want to say though about Justin Fields is what a class act. When he was interviewed this week and he said he didn't think he played well enough to be guaranteed the spot. And hats off to that young man. I really what's a great way to handle it because Russ is a glass doll. Fields could be here. Fields could be playing next week. Russ could hit a tackling sled the wrong way on Wednesday. So I'm going to bury Fields. And Fields did play decent enough, but it seems like sports now has become like politics where you have to have a side. This guy, and you can never go against your side, never against your people. And that's the way it is. Right. People go against what they even really believe just to have a hot take and to be controversial. But we finally, since Big Ben, and even a crippled Big Ben, was a professional Hall of Fame quarterback compared to, I know Rudolph saved Christmas and saved the over-under, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer like Russell Wilson is. And today was a masterful performance by a Hall of Famer, and he threw the ball where it had to go. He controlled. You never felt like the offense was being run like a high school offense. It didn't look like an SEC offense. It looked like an NFL offense. He threw the ball to where George Pickens could make some plays. He let our superstar receiver make some plays. And then because he could throw the ball, it opened up for the Naj. Naj was running downhill, abusing people to the point where then you bring in Warren Moore to change the place. He looked great. I was happy for Naj. I was happy for the O-line. I was happy for everybody involved. And guys, we look like we might, like with Russell, it looks like we might be able to win a playoff game.
Well, you never know. The good news for the Steelers, they're 5-2, home to the Giants on Monday night next week. They should win that game. They have a real chance to be 6-2 at the bye. Okay, that's a nice position to be in. So we've seen a couple of things now. You're right. I think with Russell, you're going to see George Pickens' numbers skyrocket. Okay, he's tailor-made. They're tailor-made for each other. He throws his moon balls, as Collinsworth likes to call them, and with Pickens' ball skills, he's going to make great plays. That's just who he is. So you're going to see that. And I also think defenses have to respect Wilson's ability to throw the ball more. So those safeties are going to back up. That's going to give Najee more room to run the ball. I don't think defenses can tee off on him quite the way they have. So you've got that coming together. And I think you see on defense where I have to give Tomlin and the staff credit. Their second half adjustments all year have been great on defense. They're just shutting everyone down in the second half. And we've seen really the last 3 weeks now, teams are literally double teaming TJ every play. Okay, so he's not making the impactful plays that we're used to seeing because of that, but it just makes it so much easier for everyone else when he's receiving that much attention. So that's to the Steelers' benefit. Having Highsmith back was a big deal. That's a really good performance. So that second half, they were awesome, I thought.
I thought so too, and I'm so glad we got Highsmith back. And I was big on having Queen come in. Queen's played good,
but better,
the kid that's playing safety alongside my man, he is making tons of. We've needed him for 5 years.
Sean Elliott, he's a stud. I love him.
He's a stud.
You know what he is, Joe? He's a stealer. Like the way he plays, he's physical. Like he reminds me of Lee Flowers or something. He's just
He just
likes to hit people. I mean, he's a good player.
He just was like, I was like, oh my god, like we haven't seen that in forever.
Really good player. I thought Peasy Jr. was really good tonight.
Peasy was great, and Beanie came up.
We have to mention Beanie, right? I mean, he made the play of the game because it was 15-7. It should have been 13-7. That was a bullshit call on Mick on the extra point. But anyway, it's 15-7. The Jets are driving before half, and they get the ball to start the second half. You're thinking, this doesn't look very good. And Beanie gets that interception, and that really changed the whole game, did it not?
Yeah, it was the play of the game. And I don't understand that whole blocked. How is that a penalty? I have no idea.
Even the referee on call, who Joe, I'm not going to say your joke because it's much better coming from you on stage, but the referee didn't agree with it. He was like, I don't think that really was.
Terry McCauley or whatever. Yeah, he was trying to be nice about it, but it was very.
And the other thing that was, I thought there was the Steelers special teams on kickoff coverage was kicking ass.
Yes.
If they thought that new kickoff BS was going to make it safer, I saw some of the biggest hits I've seen on kickoff returns in about 5 years tonight. Tomlin had those boys ready to play tonight. Sometimes, there's lack of competition, or tonight the Steelers came out to kick some ass. I don't know if it was because they were happy with Russ or what was going on, but that was one of the best Steeler games I've seen in years from everybody contributing.
You're right. They should have been given credit for the blocked extra point. The new punter's been fine. Boswell's money in the bank. Kickoff coverage was great. Calvin Austin made a couple of nice plays. He's pretty reliable in the punt return game. So now their special teams like A+ tonight. That was really, they've been pretty good all season. Quite honestly,
tight ends looked great tonight. Both of them.
Mount Washington making some plays too.
Yeah.
No, it was. I mean, that's a really impressive win. The Jets are 2-5, and I'm sick of hearing about them, but they are not without talent. And I actually thought Rodgers was pretty good most of the night. He made some great throws, but ultimately, the Steelers were better. And what I love about the Steelers team in the second half of games, we've seen it a lot this season against the Raiders, against the Chargers, especially. They just start to beat you up in the second half and just kind of take over the line of scrimmage. That's kind of an old school Bill Cowher way to win. But we've seen it, and boy, credit to Naj. That guy runs hard. Man, does he run hard. He was great tonight. That's the best Warren's looked all year, too. I think he's finally healthy. Just with Russ in the lineup, that dimension now where you have to respect his ability to throw the ball. He just reads the field so beautifully and makes such good decisions. Didn't even come close to turning the ball over tonight. Suddenly, you feel a lot better about the Steelers waking up tomorrow morning, I think.
I mean, Naj looked like he did back when I was loving him at Bama. Like he looked like he was running through Auburn.
Yeah.
And the other huge thing I think was that there was no Fields plays where it goes from 2nd and 3 to 3rd and 17.
Right.
Or like, and you're lucky it's 3rd and 17 because 3 guys dropped would-be interceptions. Like you got batted around.
It was almost like I felt like when Russell came into the game, he wasn't very good the first couple of series. He almost had to realize, wow, my offensive line can't pass block very well, so I've got to get caught up to the speed of this. Like once he did, he was fine, and at least the offensive line can run block. We know that much. It really can. So, Russell Collinsworth did make a good point. He said, Russell hasn't played a game since Christmas Eve of last year. It's almost a year. Mm-hmm. So I have to imagine if he can get a few games under his belt, he might be a lot better a month from now than he was tonight.
Which is right when we get into the division.
It was just an NFL offense. It finally didn't look like, Canada. It looked like an NFL offense.
Yeah. Russ was so good tonight, he got Van Jefferson a touchdown, for Christ's sake. Come on.
That was probably in everybody's group chats with their friends. If Van Jefferson's catching touchdown passes,
probably available in all of your fantasy football leagues. Go get it.
It was a nice pass.
Yeah. Good play design. All of a sudden the play designs look better.
Pickens with a legitimate pick. Wasn't even Collinsworth said, "Wow, that was a nicely done pick." Remember the other game, the Steeler guy went and tackled the guy? Like, what are you doing?
Obvious. Yeah, you got to be a little more subtle with that kind of thing. You know what else I like about Steelers home games now? I don't know what it is, but just in the last year, networks have realized that Renegade makes for good TV. So NBC does like the big panoramic shot of Renegade. Usually they would never play it. I like it when you're not there. You can still experience it on TV a little bit.
Yeah.
Anytime you show Lynn Swan, it's good television.
So by the way, Jersey snob again, but like the gray face masks, I'd be game for that to stay.
I kind of liked it actually.
I really liked the block numbers and the gray face mask. I could see that staying.
Well, Corey, I'll go with you as the fashion guru on this show. You got to love the LC Greenwood throwback gold shoes.
Yeah, how about that?
From Russ, that was badass. I'm like,
I noticed at the first snap of the game, like, who's got gold shoes on? Look at that.
Yeah. And I want to give a shout out. I think we mentioned Patrick Wilson, the rookie linebacker. But this is something I noticed in a couple games. You remember over the last couple of years, whenever those like random screen plays or whatever, where the receiver would be going and nobody would catch up to him, and it was just defensive backs falling, like trying to pull him down. Well, it happened tonight, and it's happened about 3 or 4 other times where Patrick Wilson has come down and finished one of those plays where you see the guys hanging on, and I'm like, oh God, here we go. And he blew somebody up tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah, and he's not the other. The last couple of years, we've had that slow white guy that couldn't catch anybody. It's like the inverse of him. Oh, this white guy can run. Where'd he come from?
No, I thought he was good tonight. Actually, we may have seen Wilson take a little bit of a step. I just liked how physical they were teeing off on the Jets in the second half, and that was very impressive. I thought on every level.
Yeah, I don't want to say they're a Super Bowl contender, but this goes from playoff team to make some noise.
That's right.
Well, what this did was this easily could have been a game where the offense doesn't score enough points and you kind of give him the ball back with too much time to go and pick apart the Steelers and a semi-prevent defense, and that didn't happen. That script was somewhere written by my dad. Somewhere that was, I don't think he's the only Pittsburgher who you could kind of see that maybe happening, and the Steelers and Russ and the defense didn't let it happen. So good on them.
It's just so obvious watching the game that the Steelers coaching staff trusts Russell Wilson. They just, go win the game, Russ. It was very clear to me it was a different game plan with him in there. Also, congratulations in the fourth quarter to the streaker who actually made it on TV. They almost never get on TV. The TV networks are so quick to, show a crowd shot or something. She got on for a second.
She was lining up out wide, it looked like. We got another receiver
out there. Yeah. There are some Twitter videos from the crowd, and they were quite entertaining, I will say.
Yeah.
And I have 2 media things here just to bring up. It goes back to the Penguins. I'm sorry, because one is for the radio side, there's no sense of having the shop and save shutout. I mean, it should be like give people free groceries if the Penguins don't give up like 5 goals. I mean, these poor people can't get to like the first commercial break before it's already 2-0.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna have to have a word with them about this.
I was gonna tell Stags. The
Yeah.
other one is free Dan Potash. I miss Potash. Where's Potash at? I don't know. You guys have any inside information? Is he on the IR?
I don't know. I saw him a couple weeks ago at practice. I think I don't know. I'll touch
Following,
base.
is he following
Is
the
he doing
Chargers?
I
What's
mean,
going
he's
on,
doing
Dan?
all studio, but is he not in the studio at all? I haven't.
He hasn't been the last couple of games. I actually should reach out to him. It was like, by the way, the world's nicest human being, Dan Potash.
I know. Tell him 2 for Talking's wondering because we love him because he started the season. He was there, so I don't know. I hope he's okay. I hope he didn't take a puck to the face or something.
Yeah.
We'll check. Maybe he's still upset about his Chargers falling in Pittsburgh a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And maybe him and Fleury are getting some elaborate prank together. One final prank whenever Fleury comes into town. So
That could be.
yeah. But well, hey, let's see. We got the Western trip, so
It'll be interesting.
Let's hope for the best. Hopefully, we're not a bunch of the Edmonton get right game where they're just like, oh, good, the Penguins are coming to town. Now we're gonna be fine.
Take the over, Bill. Bill, if you're in Vegas, take the over.
Absolutely.
My contribution to our great sponsor.
Yeah. Take the over. And if you want to reach out to the show, it's contact@twofortalking.com. And we will talk to you guys next week.